Hi guys, and welcome to a new episode of A Dog's Soul. I'm Anita. I help you build a trusting relationship with your dog to overcome fear and reactivity. And today we're going to talk about why so many dogs are afraid of harness and collar. So have fun. Alright, so this is something very common in fearful dogs and also in quote unquote normal dogs. Because I've seen this in shelters and also in people's households when I come to visit a puppy. And this is when these lifelong aversions against harnesses happen. Because the puppy is just grabbed and the harness is put on, and nobody cares if the dog is showing any signs of discomfort, any calming signals, anything like that. And this is a very uncomfortable situation for the dog. And so the dog learns to associate whenever the harness comes, something very uncomfortable happens to me. And for sure, he will remember that. And he will show the reaction to the harness sooner and sooner and sooner. And that's when you see a dog who just takes off whenever he sees his harness. Or when you try to approach him with a harness or even with a leash, it can be the same with a leash, because we do the same thing. We just bend over the dog and grab him, and then there is this clicky sound, and nobody bothers with just getting the dog really used to the sound, the feeling, and telling the dog what's happening. And that's something that would make it a lot easier. So when you just train the dog to put the head in the harness all by himself, or you have a harness with a clip at the neck strap and you can just open the neck and put it around your dog, and you teach the dog to look at a target, for example, while you put the harness on. Or, as I said, just teach the dog to put the head through the harness, and then for very sound sensitive dogs, train the clicking sound of the clips in an extra session. And you can pick a distance that's okay for your dog so the sound's not that loud, or you can muffle the sound with a sweater, for example, or a pillow, something like that. So you would do that in a way that the dog never gets scared or never is afraid of the harness. And that's when the magic happens. So that's when the dog associates a harness with a fun game and a fun training session, and he doesn't have to be afraid. It could be so easy. But there is a but, because I live with a dog who has been harness trained very, very carefully, because he was very difficult with harnesses to begin with, and we really trained that. And every time it worked fine, and we did go outside, and we did that a few times, the harness was a problem again. And it took me a while to understand that it's not the harness that's a problem for him, and it's not the way I put the harness on, it's outside. Outside is so overwhelming for him that he tries to avoid it. And he knows that whenever he puts a harness on, we will go outside. And this is something where I had to decide, do I want to disconnect the harness from going outside so he doesn't know? Or do I keep it that way and listen to him? And that's actually what I did. So we started working on outside, and we're still working on outside. This is now 6 years, because he's also not a healthy dog. So always when you have a dog with health issues, it is more difficult. It takes longer to train something. The setbacks are more severe, and sometimes you just cannot do shit about it. So, okay. But I thought, when I let him do that, and I let the connection stand between harness and going outside, I know exactly when he is a little concerned or a lot concerned about going outside. And that's when we just cut all the activities outside. And we just go to the toilet, and that's it. And if that's not necessary because you have a garden, then let your dog go outside without a harness, because just to the toilet if your garden is safe, and don't go for a walk. If your dog is showing you so intensely that outside is just too scary at the moment or too overwhelming, then I think that's okay. And we can just skip the day and see how it is tomorrow. And also, always keep in mind that if there is a pain issue, however it could look like, then your dog showing stress signals around the harness and going outside and stuff like that can also be a cue for you to check his health issues again. They might have a bad day, or they might have progressed in some way or whatever. So that's a vet check. And I have to say that because sometimes you still see it. When I'm talking about a harness, I talk about harnesses that do not hurt the dog. So a Y-shaped harness with normal straps, and they are very soft and stuff like that. I do not talk about any kind of no-pull harness. So the harnesses that have straps that tighten around the dog's whatever. There are different kinds out there, and they are all shit. So yeah, exactly. And also not the usual front clip harnesses, because they sit very, very poorly, and the dog has not his full range of motion, and there are other ways to train loose leash walking. Yes, sometimes attaching a second leash to the front of the harness is necessary, but you can do that with a normal Y-shaped harness as well. You don't need those ill-fitting things that just slip around a lot and your dog cannot move freely. That is, of course, uncomfortable. It doesn't hurt, but it's uncomfortable. And if your dog does not like a harness, then of course we should make a harness as comfortable as possible. And it's also how you deal with the harness. So are you being careful about not pulling the dog around a lot? Are you telling your dog what you want him to do, or are you just dragging him? Because if you're just dragging him, that's again uncomfortable. And your dog cannot even show unwanted behavior because he doesn't know upfront. So this is something that is also very important, especially if you have a very sensitive dog, and you'll see it when it comes to the harness. All right, so of course, if you are not sure, especially about training loose leash walking without the front clip harness, go to the description and check out the course. I put you a course in the description. It's about loose leash walking. It's very short, but it's everything you need. So really not that much to do and very easily implemented into your day-to-day life. So this will make things a lot easier. And of course, if you have any questions, let me know, write me an email, and we'll just talk about it. I wish you an amazing time with your dog, and we'll see each other next time. Until then, bye.